The massive doors of Nexus Station slid open with a soft hiss. Kate Johnson stepped through first, her black diplomatic uniform crisp and clean. Behind her walked 7 humans, each wearing simple gray uniforms with no weapons visible anywhere. On their bodies, the arrival hall buzzed with alien voices. Dozens of creatures from across the galaxy had gathered to watch the newest members of the Galactic Council make their first appearance. Some had scales that glittered like jewels. Others had 4 arms or 6 legs. A few floated in the air without touching the ground. Kate held her head high as she walked toward the reception desk. The human security team followed close behind. Dan Miller, their chief, was a tall man with brown hair and calm eyes. His team walked in perfect formation: Lisa Brown, Alex Carter, Sam Rodriguez, Jake Thompson, Maria Lopez, and Ryan Clark. The aliens started whispering the moment they saw the humans. Then the whispers became laughter. "Look at them," said a voice like grinding rocks. It came from Commander Vexstar, a Zephyrian with blue skin and 4 arms. Each of his hands held a glowing energy weapon. "They have no weapons at all." More laughter filled the air. The Courtians, who looked like walking crystals, made musical sounds that meant they were amused. Their bodies sparkled with built-in energy shields that could stop any attack. "How do they plan to guard anything?" asked the Mentari warrior. The insect-like creature had arms that ended in sharp blades. Its shell was harder than steel. They looked so weak and soft. General Thorak pushed through the crowd. He was a saurian, 8 feet tall, with green scales covering his massive body. His teeth were like knives, and his claws could cut through metal. He looked down at the humans and laughed so hard that his whole body shook. "These are supposed to be guards?" he roared. "They have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. What are they going to do if there is trouble? Talk the enemy to death?" The other aliens laughed even harder. Some pointed at the humans with their various appendages. Others took pictures with their communication devices. Kate felt her face get warm, but she kept walking. Don Miller showed no emotion at all. His team stayed calm and professional, but she could see the tight lines around their eyes. The station commander, a tall creature with purple skin and 3 eyes, approached them. "Welcome to Nexus Station," he said in a bored voice. "I am Commander Zeftel. We have prepared quarters for your diplomatic staff." "Thank you," Kate replied. "And my security team?" Commander Zeftel looked at the 7 humans behind her. His middle eye blinked slowly. "Your security team will be assigned to patrol Sector 7. Which sector is that?" Don Miller asked. "The archives," Commander Zeftel said. Several aliens nearby started laughing again. "It is where we keep old records and historical documents. Very safe, very quiet. Perfect for new guards who need to learn." Kate understood the insult immediately. The archives were the least important part of the station. No one would attack a bunch of old papers and books. It was like giving a trained soldier the job of watching an empty parking lot. "We accept the assignment," Don Miller said simply. His voice was steady and calm. "Excellent," Commander Zeftel said. "Report to your sector in 1 hour. Try not to get lost." As the humans walked away, the aliens continued their jokes. General Thorak called out loudly, "Maybe we should give them some books to read while they work. They look like they would be good at reading." A Mentari warrior clicked his blade arms together. "I heard humans are afraid of the dark." "Will they need nightlights in the archives?" "They probably need maps to find their way around," added a Courtian. "Their brains are so small." The laughter followed the humans down the corridor. Kate walked faster, wanting to get away from the noise. But Don Miller and his team moved at the same steady pace they had used since arriving. When they reached their temporary quarters, Kate finally spoke. "I'm sorry about that," she said. "They should not have treated you that way." "It does not matter," Don Miller replied. "We have a job to do." "But they were making fun of you," Kate said. "They think you are weak?" Lisa Brown, the youngest member of the team, smiled. "Let them think what they want. It might be useful." "What do you mean?" Kate asked. "People who think we are weak will not be careful around us," Alex Carter explained. They will not watch us closely. They will not try to stop us from doing our job. Sam Rodriguez nodded. My grandfather used to say that it is better to be underestimated than overestimated. When people think you cannot do something, they give you more chances to prove them wrong. Jake Thompson checked his watch. We should go see our new workplace. I want to know everything about those archives. Good idea, Don Miller said. We need to understand our area completely, every door, every corridor, every room. Why? Kate asked. It is just old books and papers. Because those old books and papers are now our responsibility, Maria Lopez said. We will protect them like they are the most important things in the galaxy. Ryan Clark was already studying a map of the station on his tablet. Look at this, he said. The archives are right next to the main power distribution center. And the air recycling system runs through that section too. Interesting, Don Miller said. Very interesting. Kate looked at the security team with new eyes. They were not upset about being given the worst assignment. They were not angry about being laughed at. Instead, they were already planning and thinking and preparing. You really do not mind being put in the archives? She asked. Every position has advantages, Don Miller said. We just need to find them. The humans left to report to their new assignment. Behind them, the aliens continued their parties and meetings, already forgetting about the weak human guards, who had been sent away to watch old papers. None of them noticed the careful way the humans had observed everything. None of them saw how the security team had memorized faces and counted weapons and noted escape routes. The aliens thought they had seen everything they needed to know about humans. They were wrong. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at Nexus Station. Every day, Dan Miller and his team walked through the archives like clockwork. They started their shift at 0800 hours and finished at 2000 hours. 12 hours of quiet patrol duty. The archives were huge. Thousands of shelves held books, data crystals, and memory cores from across the galaxy. The air smelled like old paper and electronic components. Soft lights kept the temperature perfect for preserving ancient documents. Lisa Brown had made friends with the archive computer system. She spent her breaks talking to the AI that managed all the records. The computer liked her because she was polite and asked interesting questions. Can you show me the station layout again? She asked during her lunch break. The AI's voice was gentle and helpful. Of course, Lisa. Which section would you like to see? All of it, she said. I want to understand how everything connects. The holographic display showed the entire station. Lisa studied it carefully, memorizing every corridor and room. She noticed that the archives were not just storage areas. They were connected to the main power grid, the communication systems, and the environmental controls. Why are the archives connected to so many important systems? She asked. The archives contain backup systems for the entire station, the AI explained. If the main computers fail, the archive systems can take over. The builders wanted to make sure important information would never be lost. Lisa nodded and saved the information to her personal tablet. This was good to know. Meanwhile, Jake Thompson had discovered something interesting about the archive's contents. He was not just looking at old books and papers. Hidden among the historical records were classified files about every species in the Galactic Council. Look at this, he whispered to Sam Rodriguez during their evening patrol. He showed him a data crystal labeled Zephyrian Military Tactics. Sam looked around to make sure no one was listening. Are we supposed to have access to this? VAI says all archive guards have level 3 security clearance, Jake replied. We can read anything stored here. Over the next few days, the human team quietly studied the classified files. They learned about Zephyrian energy weapons and how they worked. They read about Mentari fighting techniques and discovered that the blade arms could be damaged by certain types of impacts. They found detailed reports about Saurian armor and learned it was weak at the joints. Alex Carter noticed patterns in the station's daily operations. He watched the other security teams and saw how they worked. The Zephyrians relied completely on their weapons. They never learned hand-to-hand combat because they thought their energy Guns could solve any problem. The Mentari were proud of their natural weapons. They practiced fighting techniques, but only against enemies who fought the same way they did. They had never learned to fight against opponents who used different tactics. The Saurians trusted their thick skin and big muscles. They charged straight at problems, using their size and strength to win battles. They never learned to be sneaky or clever. They all have the same weakness, Alex told Dan Miller during their private meeting. They only know how to fight one. Wait, what do you mean? Don asked. They expect their enemies to fight like them, Alex explained. The Zephyrians think everyone will use energy weapons. The Mentari think everyone will use blades. The Saurians think everyone will charge and fight with strength, Don nodded. But what if the enemy does not fight the way they expect? Then they will not know what to do, Alex said. Maria Lopez had been studying the station's maintenance schedules. She noticed that certain areas were cleaned and inspected at the same time every day. Security patrols followed predictable routes. Even the emergency drills happened on a fixed schedule. Everything here runs like a machine, she told Ryan Clark. Same time, same routine, every single day. Ryan had been mapping the station's weak points. He found places where the security cameras could not see. He discovered corridors that were not patrolled regularly. He identified rooms that were rarely visited. If someone wanted to attack this station, he said quietly, they would know exactly when and where to do it. The human team shared information during their daily meetings. They created detailed maps of the station. They studied the other security team's habits. They learned the schedules of all the important people, but they did their regular job too. They patrolled the archives carefully, checking every door and window. They maintained perfect logs of everyone who entered their area. They kept the historical records safe and organized. The other aliens continued to make jokes about the human guards. During shift changes, the Zephyrians would walk past the archives and laugh about the librarians. The Mentari called them the bookworms. The Saurians made jokes about humans being afraid of paper cuts. Still guarding those dangerous documents? General Thoric asked one day. His voice was full of amusement. Has anyone been attacked by a particularly vicious encyclopedia? The other aliens laughed at his joke. Don Miller just nodded politely and continued his patrol. But the humans were learning things the aliens never bothered to study. Lisa Brown had memorized the entire station layout. Jake Thompson knew the weaknesses of every species fighting techniques. Sam Rodriguez had identified 12 different ways to move through the station without being seen. Alex Carter had figured out how to disable the security cameras using archive computer access. Maria Lopez knew the exact timing of every patrol and cleaning schedule. Ryan Clark had mapped 17 emergency escape routes that no one else knew about. Don Miller put all this information together in his mind. He began to see the station, not as a safe place protected by strong guards, but as a complex puzzle with many weak spots. The humans also worked on their teamwork. They developed hand signals for silent communication. They practiced moving together through the archives without making noise. They learned to coordinate their actions without talking to the aliens. It looked like the humans were just being extra careful about their simple job. The security teams from other species barely noticed what the humans were doing. They were too busy laughing at the weak guards who had been stuck with the boring assignment. Look at them, a Mentari warrior said to his partner. They take their job so seriously. They act like those old books are actually important. Humans are strange, his partner replied. They work so hard at things that do not matter. But the humans knew something the aliens did not understand. Every job matters if you do it right. Every position has advantages if you look for them. Every day of preparation makes you stronger for the day. When preparation is not enough, the aliens saw weakness where the humans saw opportunity. They saw boring work where the humans saw valuable training. They saw isolation where the humans saw the perfect place to get ready for whatever might come, and something was coming. The humans could feel it in the way some aliens acted nervous during meetings. They could see it in the worried looks that passed between senior officers. They could hear it in the whispered conversations that stopped when humans walked by. The storm was building, and when it hit, everyone would learn the difference between looking dangerous and being dangerous. The attack began at 0347 hours, during the quiet time when most of the station was asleep. Red lights flashed throughout Nexus Station as alarms screamed their warnings. The voice of the station AI echoed through every corridor. Alert, alert. Hostile ships detected. All security teams report to battle stations immediately. Don Miller was already awake in his quarters when the alarm started. He had trained himself to sleep lightly, always ready for trouble. Within seconds, he was dressed and running toward the archives. His team was already gathering at their posts. Lisa Brown was at the main archive computer, her fingers flying over the controls. Jake Thompson and Sam Rodriguez were checking the entrance points. Alex Carter and Maria Lopez were setting up their equipment. Ryan Clark was watching the security monitors. What do we know? Don asked. 23 pirate ships, Lisa reported, reading from the computer display. They call themselves the Shadow Fleet. Their leader is Captain Zarkith, a Vorthan with a reputation for brutal attacks. They came out of nowhere, Ryan added. The outer sensors did not detect them until they were already firing. The sound of explosions echoed through the station. The lights flickered as power systems were damaged. Through the observation windows, they could see bright flashes of weapons fire in the darkness of space. The pirates are using some kind of stealth technology, Lisa said. That is how they got so close without being detected. More explosions shook the station. Don Miller could hear the sound of running feet in the corridors outside the archives. Security teams from other species were rushing to their assigned positions. Communication from the bridge, Jake announced, listening to his radio. The outer defense grid is failing. Pirates are preparing to board the station. Don Miller gathered his team around the main table. On the surface, he looked calm, but his mind was racing. Everything they had learned over the past 3 weeks was about to be tested. They will come here eventually, he said. The archives contain too much valuable information for them to ignore. How long do we have? Sam asked. Maybe an hour, Don replied. Maybe less. The humans could hear the battle raging through the station. The Zephyrian guards were fighting near the main docking bays. Their energy weapons made distinctive humming sounds as they fired, but the humming was getting weaker and less frequent. The Zephyrian weapons are overheating, Alex observed. They were not designed for continuous combat. A Mentari warrior ran past their section, his blade arms clicking frantically. Behind him came 2 more Mentari, both bleeding from wounds. They were retreating, something Dan had never seen them do before. The Mentari are having trouble too, Maria noted. Their natural weapons are not effective against the pirates' armor. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the station as Saurian guards moved into position. General Thorak's voice could be heard shouting orders, but even his powerful voice sounded worried. Status report, Don called to Lisa. The pirates have boarded at 7 different points, she replied. They are using advanced plasma weapons and personal shields. The station's security forces are being overwhelmed. How many pirates? Ryan asked. At least 300, Lisa said. They seem to know exactly where to attack and how to avoid our strongest defenses. Don Miller felt a cold feeling in his stomach. They have inside information, he said. Someone told them about the station's weak points. The battle was getting closer. They could hear weapons fire just 3 corridors away. The sound of the Zephyrian energy weapons had almost stopped completely. The clicking of Mentari blade arms was becoming rare. The main security forces are falling back, Jake reported. Command is ordering all remaining guards to defend the central command center. What about us? Sam asked. No orders, Jake replied. I think they have forgotten we exist. Don Miller looked at his team. These 6 people had become like family to him over the past 3 weeks. They had worked together, learned together, and prepared together. Now they were about to face the ultimate test. We have a choice, he said. We can abandon our post and try to reach the command center. Or we can stay here and do our job. What job? Alex asked. Protecting old books and papers. No, Don replied. Protecting classified information about every species in the Galactic Council. If the pirates get that information, they will know the weaknesses of every military force in the galaxy. The team looked at each other. They all understood what Don was saying. The archives were not just storage for old documents. They were a treasure trove of military secrets. Besides, Lisa added, we know this section better than anyone. We know every corridor, every room, every hiding place. And we know things about the pirates that they do not know we know, Maria said. We studied their tactics while we were researching the other species. The pirates expect to fight Zephyrians with energy weapons, Sam said. They expect to fight Mentari with blades. They expect to fight Saurians with strength. But they do not expect to fight humans, Jake added. They do not know how we fight. Dan Miller nodded. Then we stay. We defend our position. We show them what human guards can do. The team spread out through the archive section. They had spent 3 weeks learning every inch of this area. They knew which lights could be turned off to create shadows. They knew which doors could be locked from the inside. They knew which corridors had good hiding spots. Lisa remained at the main computer terminal. From there, she could control the environmental systems, the security cameras, and the emergency lighting. She could also monitor the pirates' movements through the station. Captain Zarketh is leading a group toward our section, she reported. 15 pirates, all heavily armed. They will be here in 10 minutes. Don Miller checked his equipment one more time. Like his team, he carried no obvious weapons. But over the past 3 weeks, they had quietly prepared for this moment. They had gathered tools and supplies. They had identified useful items that could be turned into weapons. Remember, he said to his team, we are not trying to win a battle. We are trying to survive long enough to complete our mission. What mission? Ryan asked. To prove that the aliens were wrong about us, Don replied. To show them that being underestimated is not the same as being weak. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridor. The pirates were coming. They expected to find the area abandoned or defended by weak guards who would surrender quickly. Instead, they were about to discover that humans had been preparing for this moment their entire species' evolution. They were about to learn that the most dangerous predator is not the one with the biggest teeth or the strongest muscles. The most dangerous predator is the one smart enough to turn everything around it into a weapon. The hunt was about to begin. Captain Zarketh stopped outside the entrance to the archive section. He was a Vorthan, 7 feet tall with gray skin and 4 red eyes. Scars covered his face and arms, proof of many battles won. His plasma rifle was charged and ready. This should be easy, he said to his squad. The reports say this section is guarded by weak human guards. They have no weapons, no armor, nothing dangerous. Behind him, 14 other pirates checked their equipment. They carried the best weapons money could buy. Their armor could stop most energy blasts. Their shields could deflect projectiles. They had fought and defeated security forces across the galaxy. Remember, Zarketh continued, we need the information stored in these archives. Kill any guards you find, but do not damage the computers. The pirates moved forward. The first corridor was empty and quiet. Emergency lighting cast. Long shadows on the walls. The air was still and cool. Where are they? Asked Gornik, Zarketh's second in command. He was a Mentari with blade arms that had never failed him in battle. Probably hiding, Zarketh replied. Humans are cowards. They will surrender when they see us. The pirates advanced deeper into the archive section. They passed rows of shelves filled with books and data crystals. Everything looked normal and peaceful. That was when the first trap activated. Alex Carter had spent days preparing this moment. He had studied the maintenance systems and learned how to control them remotely. When the pirates reached the middle of the main corridor, he activated the emergency fire suppression system. Thick foam sprayed from hidden nozzles in the ceiling. The pirates were instantly covered in white chemical foam that stuck to their armor and weapons. They could not see clearly. They could not move quickly. Ambush! Zarketh shouted. Spread out, but the pirates could not spread out. The foam made the floor slippery. Two of them fell down and struggled to get back up. The others stumbled and crashed into each other. That was when Jake Thompson struck. He dropped from a ceiling panel directly behind the last pirate in line. The pirate never heard him coming. Jake wrapped his arm around the pirate's neck and squeezed. The pirate struggled for a few seconds, then went limp. Jake grabbed the pirate's weapon and disappeared back into the ceiling before anyone saw him. "Contact rear," Gornick shouted. "We have lost Vex." The pirates spun around, looking for their missing teammate. They fired their weapons randomly at the shadows. Energy blasts scorched the walls and melted metal shelves, but hit nothing important. "Calm down," Zarkith ordered. "They are trying to panic us. Stay together." The pirates wiped the foam from their faces and moved forward again. They were more careful now, watching every shadow and checking every corner. Maria Lopez was waiting for them in the next corridor. She had set up a simple but effective trap using maintenance equipment. When the pirates stepped on a certain floor panel, it triggered a pressurized air system. A blast of compressed air hit the lead pirate in the chest. The force was not enough to hurt him, but it was enough to knock him backward into the pirates. Behind him, they all fell down in a pile of tangled arms and legs. While they were getting back up, Sam Rodriguez appeared at the far end of the corridor. He threw something small and round at the pirates, then disappeared around a corner. "Grenade!" Zarkith yelled. The pirates dove for cover, expecting an explosion. Instead, the small object released a cloud of harmless smoke. But the smoke was mixed with a chemical that made their eyes water and their throats burn. The pirates coughed and choked. Their vision blurred. They could not aim their weapons properly. "It is not a grenade," Gornick said. "It is some kind of chemical weapon. Humans do not have chemical weapons." Zarkith replied, "They are too weak." But the pirates were learning that humans were not weak. They were something much more dangerous. They were creative. Ryan Clark had been watching the pirates through the security cameras. He knew exactly where they were and where they were going. He used his knowledge of the station's systems to turn off the lights. In the next corridor, the pirates found themselves in complete darkness. Their weapons had built-in lights, but the beams only showed small areas. Everything else was black. "Stay close together," Zarkith ordered. "Use your lights to cover each other." The pirates moved forward slowly, their weapon lights sweeping back. And fourth, they were nervous now. 3 of their teammates had been taken out by enemies they could not see or fight. Lisa Brown was controlling the environmental systems from her hidden position. She gradually lowered the temperature in the corridor where the pirates were walking. The air became cold, then very cold. The pirates' breath began to fog. Their fingers became numb. Their weapons felt heavy in their hands. "Why is it getting so cold?" asked the Saurian pirate. His thick skin was turning blue. "It is another trick," Zarkith replied. "Keep moving." But the cold was affecting their equipment too. The energy weapons were not working as well in the low temperature. The pirates' armor was becoming stiff and hard to move in. Dan Miller had been watching everything from his position. He knew the pirates were getting frustrated and angry. That was exactly what he wanted. Angry enemies make mistakes. Frustrated enemies stop thinking clearly. Confused enemies start fighting each other instead of their real opponents. He activated his radio and spoke in a calm, quiet voice. "Attention pirates. This is Don Miller, Chief of Security for this section. You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender now and you will not be harmed." Zarkith laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Surrender? You have 6 guards against 14 pirates. You are the ones who should surrender." "Actually," Don replied, "you now have 11 pirates. 3 of your teammates are no longer able to fight." The pirates looked around and realized. He was right, Vex was missing. 2 others had been quietly taken while they were dealing with the various traps and tricks. "Impossible," Zarkith shouted. "My pirates are the best fighters in the galaxy." "They are good at fighting other pirates," Don agreed, "but they do not know how to fight humans. You see, Captain Zarkith, you made a mistake." "You believed what?" The other aliens told you about us. What mistake? Zarkith demanded. You thought we were weak because we do not carry weapons, Don explained. But humans do not need to carry weapons. We can turn anything into a weapon. We can turn anywhere into a battlefield. We can turn any situation into an advantage. The pirates were listening despite themselves. They had never heard an enemy talk like this during a battle. You brought energy weapons, Don continued, but we control the power systems. You brought armor, but we control the temperature. You brought shields, but we control the environment. Alex Carter chose that moment to activate another trap. The floor panels under 4 pirates suddenly opened. The pirates fell through into a maintenance area 1 level below. They were not hurt, but they were trapped. 7 pirates left, Don announced. Would you like to surrender now? Zarkith was furious. His perfect plan was falling apart. His superior weapons and armor were useless against enemies who refused to fight fairly. Find them, he screamed at his remaining pirates. Find them and kill them all, but the pirates were scared now. They had never fought enemies like this before. Enemies who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Enemies who used the station itself as a weapon. They were about to learn that the hunt had only just begun. The battle in the archives had been raging for 2 hours. Captain Zarkith sat on the floor with his hands tied behind his back. His remaining pirates were either unconscious or secured in maintenance closets throughout the archive section. The human guards had not killed anyone. They had not even seriously injured anyone. They had simply outmaneuvered and outcaptured a group of the galaxy's most feared pirates. Don Miller stood in front of the captured pirate captain. His gray uniform was still clean and neat. He showed no signs of the intense battle. It had just ended. I want to know who gave you information about this station, Don said calmly. Zarkith glared at him with his 4 red eyes. I will tell you nothing, human. You will tell me everything, Don replied. Because if you do not, I will turn you over to the Galactic Council. They do not treat pirates kindly. You cannot prove anything, Zarkith said. Lisa Brown walked over, carrying a data pad. Actually, we can prove everything. Your pirates were very talkative while we were capturing them. They told us about the inside information you received. Jake Thompson joined them. They said someone on the Galactic Council contacted you 3 weeks ago. This person told you about the station's defenses and assured you that the human guards would not be a problem. They said this person promised you that the humans were weak and cowardly, Sam Rodriguez added. They said you could ignore us completely. Zarkith's face showed surprise. He had not expected the humans to get so much information from his pirates. My crew would never talk, he said. They did not talk willingly, Alex Carter explained. But when people are scared and confused, they say things they do not mean to say. We also found communication records in your ship's computer, Maria Lopez said. The messages between you and your contact are very detailed. Ryan Clark set up a holographic display showing the intercepted messages. Would you like to see them? Zarkith stared at the messages. His contact had been very specific about the station's weaknesses. The person had provided detailed information about patrol schedules, weapon placements, and security protocols, but most importantly, the contact had been very clear about the human guards. The humans assigned to Sector 7 are no threat, one message read. They have no weapons, no training, and no courage. You can ignore them completely. Your contact was wrong about us, Dan Miller said. The question is, why did they give you this information? Zarkith was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. The contact said the council needed to learn a lesson. They said the other species were too confident in their security. A successful attack would show them they needed to be more careful. But the attack was not supposed to be successful, Lisa realized. It was supposed to fail, but only after causing enough damage to scare everyone. The contact promised my crew would be allowed to escape, Zarkith continued. They said the station's defenses would put up a good fight, then let us go with some minor stolen goods. Everyone would learn from the experience. Except the human. Guards were not supposed to be part of the fight, Jake said. We were supposed to hide in the archives until it was over. That was the plan, Zarkith admitted, but you did not hide. You fought, and you won. Don Miller looked at his team. They had suspected something like this, but hearing it confirmed was still shocking. Someone on the Galactic Council had arranged a fake attack to make a political point. Who was your contact? Dan asked. I will not tell you, Zarkith said. Even if I wanted to, I cannot. All our communications were encrypted. I never learned their real identity. We do not need you to tell us, Ryan said. We have been analyzing the communication patterns. The messages came from inside the station, and we know the exact time they were sent, Maria added. We can check who had access to secure communication systems at those times. Lisa was already working on her datapad, cross-referencing communication access logs with the message timestamps, she said. Eliminating diplomatic staff and technical personnel, focusing on security and military personnel. Got it, she announced. Only 3 people had the necessary access at the right times. Commander Zeftel, General Corvan of the Mentari, and General Thoric of the Saurians. Commander Zeftel was in meetings with the diplomatic staff when some of the messages were sent, Alex noted. General Corvan was off station on a military inspection? That leaves General Thoric, Don concluded. The pieces fell into place. General Thoric had been the most vocal about human weakness. He had made the most jokes about the human guards. He had been the one to suggest that humans were not capable of real security work. He arranged this attack to prove that the station needed stronger defenses, Sam said. Defenses that he would be in charge of. And he told the pirates to ignore the human guards because he genuinely believed we were no threat, Jake added. His plan was perfect, Maria said. The pirates attack, the current security forces fail, and he gets promoted to Chief of Station Security. Except we did not fail, Ryan said. We succeeded better than anyone expected. Don Miller gathered the evidence they had collected. We need to present this to the Galactic Council immediately. The human team escorted their prisoners through the station corridors. Word of their victory had spread quickly. Aliens who had been laughing at the human guards just hours before now stared at them with new expressions. The Zephyrian guards they passed looked embarrassed. Their advanced energy weapons had failed them when they needed them most. The Mentari. Warriors avoided eye contact, their natural blade arms having proven useless against modern pirate armor. Most shocking of all was the sight of General Thoric himself. The massive Saurian was being escorted by his own guards, his hands secured behind his back. When he saw the humans approaching with their captured pirates, his face turned pale green. This is impossible, he said. You were supposed to hide. You were supposed to be too weak to fight. We were weak, Gondilla replied, according to your definition. We had no claws, no armor, no energy weapons, but you forgot something important. What? Thoric demanded. You forgot that weakness. And strength are not the same thing as stupidity and intelligence. The Galactic Council chamber was packed with representatives from across the galaxy. Emergency sessions were rare, but the pirate attack had shaken everyone. The capture of the pirates by human guards had shocked them even more. Ambassador Kate Johnson stood at the center of the chamber. Behind her, Don Miller and his team presented their evidence. The communication records, the testimony from captured pirates, and the security logs all pointed to the same conclusion. General Thoric arranged this attack, Kate announced. He provided classified information to known criminals. He put every person on this station in danger to advance his own career. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted, in dozens of different languages. Some demanded immediate punishment for Thoric. Others called for investigations into their own security forces. Commander Vextar of the Zephyrians stood up. His blue skin was darker than usual, a sign of deep shame. The human guard succeeded where we failed, he said. We owe them an apology. More than an apology, said General Corvan of the Mentari. We owe them our respect. One by one, the alien representatives acknowledged what had happened. The species that had mocked human guards for being weak had been saved by those same guards. How did you do it? Asked a Quartzian representative. How did you defeat armed pirates with no weapons? Don Miller stepped forward. We used the most powerful weapon any species can possess, he said. We used our minds. But the pirates had better technology, another representative said. They had superior firepower. Technology is only as good as the person using it, Lisa Brown explained. The pirates expected to fight enemies who thought like they did. They expected energy weapons and armor and direct confrontation. Instead, they found enemies who could adapt, Alex Carter added. Enemies who could turn anything into an advantage. We did not try to be stronger than the pirates, Jake Thompson said. We tried to be smarter. The station's own systems became our weapons, Sam Rodriguez explained. The environmental controls, the maintenance equipment, the communication networks. Everything was a tool we could use. And most importantly, Maria Lopez said, we worked together, not as individuals trying to prove how strong we were, but as a team trying to solve a problem. Ryan Clark activated a holographic display showing the battle in the archives. The pirates never understood what they were fighting. They thought they were fighting 6 weak guards. Actually, they were fighting the entire archive section turned into a weapon. The council chamber was silent as the representatives absorbed this information. They were beginning to understand that they had been wrong about humans. Very wrong. You saved us all, Commander Zeftal said quietly. And we laughed at you. You laughed because you did not understand us, Don Miller replied. That is not your fault, but now you know better. Kate Johnson addressed the council one final time. Humanity requests that our security team be allowed to continue their current assignment. The archives suit them very well. Granted, said the council speaker immediately, with our sincere apologies for our previous behavior. As the humans left the council chamber, they passed groups of alien guards who watched them with new respect. The mockery had stopped. The joke?